Hi everyone, welcome back to the Freedom Property Podcast. Today we're delighted to continue the business podcast series. We have on today Laurie Duncan, Alex Robertson and Conar Tracey from the extremely successful REWD Group, which stands for Real Estate Wealth Development. Their vision is to create transformational generational wealth for all key stakeholders by addressing the significant supply and demand imbalances in the UK property market. Guys, welcome onto the podcast.
Thanks for having us. Morning.
Yeah, and a big tagline for you guys is kind of like you went from 0 to 200 properties in 2.5 years. So it'll be really kind of exciting for us to kind of drill into that. But maybe kind of a bit of a background on, you three, how you got started in property and how you all met as well would be good.
Cool. Ek, you want to take it?
Yeah, I'll do this one. So Laurie and I both come from corporate backgrounds. I really grew up in the oil and gas industry from 21. I worked for the same company, but traveled all over the world. Really, I was in Russia for 4 years, Azerbaijan for 4 years. I was in Norway for a couple of years. Just really very transient, but had a great experience. Really, really good. I was the guy that they sent in to set new businesses up, new plants when they wanted their geographical expansion. They sent me in to set up kind of systems and processes. And it was a finance background ultimately, but I quite quickly moved into a bit more business development, commercial stuff. So I had a really good broad base of business through that career. But you kick into your early 30s and that lifestyle can really start to wear. It's amazing in your 20s, but when you want to settle down and have kids and all that sort of stuff, being away most of the year really it doesn't stack up. So
yeah,
I think we kind of we're both at a similar stage where we felt like we weren't getting the value back that we were bringing to the business. And when you're building a business for someone else, you kind of think, well, why not do it for yourself? Why can't I? So there was a lot of reflecting in our early 30s. Laurie has a very similar story. I'll let him tell his own take on that. But we both hit this same period. We were both kind of interested in property, been dabbling in it for a while, not very successfully. And we started on our education together. Laurie and I were friends from school.
Okay.
Albeit we didn't really get close friends until sort of 20s, where we used to do these what we called the Jolly Boy trips with all our mates. We go down to watch a decent game of football down in England because there's not much of that in Scotland. We just have a bit of a laugh over the weekend, a few drinks and stuff. And Laurie and I kind of developed
a few drinks. Fucking come on.
You're the
one.
You're the one sitting with a bottle of gin next to you just now. So that's kind of where our friendship grew. But the business side of things was just really organic. It was we both started learning about property, doing our separate things. Had no intention of working together or really working with anyone else. But through the course of my wedding, and we've told this story a few times on social media and stuff, but I got this great lead through, kind of tied up with my wedding, and Laurie said he'd take it on and negotiate the deal. Done a fantastic deal. We agreed to go 50-50 on it. That was our first deal. It was a 4-block ex-local authority in Alloa, and I think we got it for 25k, spent about 7.5 on it, and it refinanced at 60. So all money out, really solid asset, 525 quid a month rent. And that was it. And then another deal came up where Laurie couldn't negotiate it. He was away. I went negotiated it for him, done a good deal, found the private investor, put it together, and it just kind of we never at any stage says, right, let's do a business together. Just deal after deal, and then it became very clear after a while we're wasting our time doing our own stuff because what we can achieve together is much bigger. And the funny thing about it is, I say it's organic. Laurie and I to this day still don't have a shareholders agreement or a joint venture agreement or anything like that. We're having to formulate that now because the business requires it as it's growing. But we just work because we're friends, and we both bring these polarized skills to the table, and it works really well. And we've never had a discussion about who does what. We just fall in our slots, and it's really cool because so many people get into joint ventures without knowing the person, or this has just been really easy for us, and that's quite a cool thing. don't know if you've got anything to add, Laurie.
Well, this Jolly Boy's out in the Eccles. If I talk about Eccles, right, that's Alex Robertson. And this, the first Jolly Boys out that we ever went to, actually, which is where our friendship started to blossom all these years ago. I turned up at Pullman train station about 4:30, 5 in the morning. Eccles is lying there on a bench with a bottle of tequila. Hadn't been home from the night before. Jumped on this train at 5 o'clock in the morning. Then we went into something like Birmingham, and he's sinking this bottle of tequila like on the way down. We were only like 24 or something, you know. But the few drinks that Eccles was talking about, I don't know if that was an accurate representation.
That's a blatant lie. It was a bottle of Sambuca.
It was a long time ago, but no, it's just really cool for me now. I think I just love what we do. You know, we've kind of just grown into this. You know, nice big company doing a lot of different things now. You know, we've got the buy-to-let side. You know, we've got some HMOs in there. We've got the developments on the go, which is mainly commercial and residential, but we've got our first land project going through as well. We've got our own building company. We have about 25 guys, and we've got the training and education business. You know, so it's like REWD Group has grown in like this 3-year period since we've done that first deal together that Ek mentioned. And a really cool business, you know, not just financially, but kind of lifestyle. And you know, we've got a great team of guys here. You know, we're actually all in REWD HQ, by the way. X upstairs in the event space, Connor's in the meeting room, and I'm at my desk, only because we figured the audio quality would be cool, you know. But I'm sitting in the open office here with Jennifer, Charmaine, and Barry. Connor joined us in kind of May, June this year, and we were already kind of doing business together, so we've known each other for a couple of years. But I mean, you know, Ek talks about this kind of, you know, complementing each other's skills, and that's been true. You know, that's got us to kind of where we are. But having started working with Connor really closely as well over the last kind of 6 months or so, he brings this other dimension to the business now as well. You know, it's really cool. But so no, I mean, look, we kind of just got started. You know, so many people go on about this, like, oh, I really want to do this. I really want to make a move. I'd love to have my own portfolio, but they never make a fucking move. You know,
yeah.
We're just like a couple of guys that made a move, kept making moves, and we keep making them, and we've ended up where we are. So long may that continue. But there's definitely not been any fancy, I don't know, as Ek says, agreement, strategic thing. It's just like, let's keep making moves. And the more moves that we make, the bigger it becomes. So, yeah.
And it's funny, you always feel like you're not doing enough. You know,
Aye.
we constantly, you know, Laurie talks about all this stuff we've got on the go. And, you know, a lot of people outward looking, you know, kind of say, you know, how are you managing it? Oh, we're sitting here thinking, are we doing enough? Can we do more? Is there things we can do better? And there always is, you know. I mean, it's a funny game, but we had this really cool kind of reflective period last week because we had a Christmas party, our first Christmas party. It wasn't so much of a party because of COVID and stuff. We were kind of, you know, we hired out an area and just having a kind of meal and stuff. But you know, Laurie and I were standing at the bar at one point, kind of thinking, this time last year, it was just me and him sitting in Temperance House, which is one of our developments that we'd made a makeshift office in, kind of planning things out. And we had no staff. We really only had, you know, some of the buy-to-lets at that point. None of these other businesses we're talking about. Developments was kind of in its infancy. And like, you know, a year on, we've got, you know, 20 odd staff, all these projects going on, more than 200 properties, and you know, it's just mad how quickly things move, and it's exciting then to think about, you know, how quickly it's going to move, you know, going forward.
Well, let's drill into that. Before we do that, you know, it'd be good to introduce Connor as well. You know, you said that you're now working as a trio together. Connor, would you like to introduce yourself and explain what you do in the business, please?
Yeah, no worries. I mean, essentially, I'm head of group development, so kind of just involved in all aspects of the group across the board. So heavily involved in the training side because that business is, you know, it's only been it's up and running since December of last year, so it's about a year old now, and that's doing exceptionally well. You know, we're adding more and more value to that every time we look at it. And the acquisition side, you know, we're constantly exploring different dynamics, and we were talking there about, you know, this unique strategy or agreements between Alex and Laurie in place at the beginning, and this was the first time I said to the guys, look, for next year, I want to talk about goals and I want to look at what our targets are for next year. And I'm a bit more corporate and clinical when it comes to that type of thing. And Alex went, I don't think we actually set any goals for this year. And it's fuck, we didn't even set any goals this year. And look at what we've done. And since I came in, since from June, it's been amazing. The different things that we get involved in all the time, and it's the different conversations that I'm involved in. It's just a kind of new world to me as well. Albeit I've worked in property since I was 18. It's a different dynamic as to what we're operating in now, and it's just good to see the different areas that we can grow. And we gain confidence in it. A lot of the time we're looking at these ideas and they're just ideas and we'll go, right, we'll do that. And then you do it and what you planned ended up coming through, or even, you better what you expected. And it gives you confidence as you continue to grow. And I feel that's what kind of helps us support those starting out a lot better, is because everything we talk about is tried and tested, and it's all stuff that we've done, and it's all experiences that we've gained over that time. But albeit I've only been here since May, June time this year, I worked with the guys for actively sourcing them opportunities for the past couple of years.
Nice.
And we actually met because I was working as a valuation manager for Scotland for a large quick selling estate agency down in Manchester. And Laurie was trying his hand at some sourcing stuff at that time, and he wasn't getting very far. But he found that he kept coming up against the company I was working for.
Right.
So he basically he'd set a fake appointment, saying he was selling a flat in Grangemouth, to find the guy that was basically taking the deals from him. So I turned up at this flat in Grangemouth, and it was tenanted. So I then messaged him, I phoned him, I was like, where are you? And he says, oh no, you're meeting me at my house. It was only around the corner. So I turned up and it was this big nice house, and I was all right, okay, so we've got this serious player then. And I went in and he was talking about getting rid of this flat and put me through my paces, the full start to finish pitch of everything I can do. And he starts like, but what if I just wanted to do something, just like me and you kind of thing? And I was like, well, there's maybe an option there. And then at the end of it, he just went, well, I'm just going to be honest, I'm not selling a flat. And my heart sank. I was like, oh shit, what have I got myself into? And it was just really cool because 5 days later, we ended up doing our first deal together. Because I liked the approach of how he'd done that. There's so many people out there looking for deals, but everybody comes to me all the time, saying, oh, have you got anything for me? And it's like, why would I come to somebody I have no relationship with and offer them the deals? Because the deals I find are credible and they're always worth buying. And it was a case of, everybody always wants a piece of it, but why would they do it? But Laurie instantly stood out to me because nobody's ever went to that extent or done that kind of approach. So we done our first one from there. And every time I had an opportunity that was worth buying, they were the first guys I thought of. They're the guys I went to. And every single time, they always had funds. They always found a way to do the deal. And that just had momentum. So it eventually became a point that any time I was looking at a deal and it wasn't suited to the strategy that I personally wanted to do, if it was a buy-to-let, there was only one phone call I was making. And that's what we kind of built this more and more on.
I think that's key, isn't it? Because you obviously probably come across a lot of people that will say they want the deals, but then don't actually kind of follow through or hum and har, and then by that time it's too late, isn't it?
Correct, exactly that. And you don't want to waste time because it's different because they're seeing it from, I've always been in a position where I'm the one direct to the vendor. I'm the one who understands and has to bear all of their problems on my shoulders to broker a deal. So I can't afford for the buyers to mess that up because it's my credibility with them. And they have a genuine need as to why they're maybe looking to sell that property at a lesser value than potentially what it's worth. So you have to know that your guys can meet the terms that you state and do so, within the timescale. So it's very important to have that relationship, and I think it's what kind of makes the whole position that we do things now a lot stronger because we have experience from all angles of the buying and selling process. And that's what we try and put on to our training clients as well, is that anybody who's finding good deals, you can't mess them around. And I'll tell them that, don't negotiate the fees, don't do any of that nonsense. If the deal stacks, just do the deal and make sure you commit and stick to it.
That's a great point, Conor. So it'd be good to kind of get an idea of kind of how you've managed to get from, like, because you talked about, you maybe did sort of 1 or 2 deals initially and it was very slow, and then all of a sudden you've gone from like sort of 2 or 3 to 200 plus in sort of 2.5 years. How did you manage to kind of scale so quickly?
I think we talk about a lot in our training courses the concept of phase 1 and phase 2. So you've got this phase 1 of developing your buy-to-let portfolio where you're buying individual deals, and you're dealing with all these individual finance companies likes of Precise, Aldermore, Kensington, T&W, that have very specific standards that really restricts what you can buy and what you can't, and you have to have that finance exit or it doesn't really work. So it just really slows you down, and dealing with the paperwork's a nightmare, dealing with the mortgage company, and then you get, you have to wait 6 months, then, a couple of months later, you're still messing about trying to find the deal, you get the deal, then you're another month down the line with the paperwork, and then they say, actually, we've just got the survey back, and this ex-local authority, we don't like it, sorry. And that's something that maybe the broker, a good man like yourself, would have identified in advance, but if you've not got the right broker, you don't, and then you're back to square one again. You can be 12 months before you've refinanced that one project before you can release the cash and go again. It's slow, it's painful. It's almost like your apprenticeship, but it's rough. But what we try and explain to people is there's this other level, there's this phase 2, as we call it, where you can transition once you've got the credibility to portfolio lending. You can get a bank that backs you, like a serious bank like Bank of Scotland, or some of the challenger banks, more commercial lending type things that will back you on everything. And at that stage, things get a lot more interesting because a lot of those criteria that would have held you back historically go. And moreover, it opens the option to do bigger deals. So as long as you can find the money to finance deposits, refurbs, all that sort of stuff, you can start to do much bigger deals. And our first biggest deal that kind of just landed on our lap was 82 properties in Lanarkshire, and that at the time we only had 40 in our portfolio. So that was the catalyst that took us into phase 2, and it was a massive learning curve going through that process. Buying portfolios is a completely different game, but when you know how to do it, it's a massive accelerator. You know, and since we got that first portfolio deal done and we went into phase 2. We just keep doing more. I mean, once you've learned how to do it, why would you ever stop? So, we done that 82 units. Shortly after that, we done another 15. Then we bought the 40 in Campbelltown. Then we bought another 12. We've got another 12 going through legals right now. So, the magic accelerator really is, having this phase 2, having this lender that backs you on everything, and being able to do these larger portfolio deals. And figuring out, 1, how to find them, 2, how to finance them, and 3, how to bring it all together to actually get the deal over the line. But it's a beautiful thing when it does it. And we don't just do that. We've got another way of doing individual deals, but on a quicker basis. Again, using the right finance structure that you can get to in phase 2. And the beauty of what we do is there's no 6-month rule anymore either, so we can push things, refinance things really quickly, move on to the next. And it's cool once you get past that initial pain period in phase 1. The acceleration can be rapid. And for us now, there's just not enough stock to buy. So we want to get to 1,000 properties. We're not going to be able to do that just by buying portfolios, because you're not going to, in the next 3-4 years, I don't think we're going to come across too many 100, 200 unit portfolios. There are a few we're looking at, but we've realised if we want to hit that target, we now need to look at build to rent, which works well with the development business. So we're kind of, going down that route as well. So, there's all these different strategies you can bring in, but understanding this transition to buying portfolios and portfolio lending is huge for acceleration.
No, it's definitely supercharged your business. And so obviously to kind of buy these portfolios, I presume there's kind of like sort of angel investors involved here as well. Was that a struggle for you guys to kind of come up with funding initially?
Well, the whole reason we started kind of REWD Group and the reason it looks like it does with these kind of, the wings and the black and the gold and, the name of the what is the group now, Real Estate Wealth Development, the real and the wealth are in bold, all these types of things. Like we done all of that to attract finance. You know, we recognise that, you know, when Connor's bringing us all these deals, it's like if we don't have something that attracts more money, you know, then how are we going to buy more deals? So the whole reason we kind of created this brand was on the basis of raising finance. It's one thing creating the brand, it's another thing kind of going out and going after it, right? You still need to do all of that and convince people ultimately to work with you. You know, we have I don't know, maybe about 30 different investors now. I don't even know roughly, you know. Some are secured, some are unsecured. We've got joint venture partners. You know, we've been buying the portfolios, still buying the single units, also buying the multi-unit blocks. And it's like the combination of all that, because you were asking, like, what, you know, how have we been able to scale so quickly? It's like, well, it's because we've put that all together, you know.
Yeah.
And even if you look at the expansion of the group and the different businesses we have in the group, they all complement each other, right? It's like, as X says about this build to rent, well, you can't do that until you've got a development business and a building company. You know, it all just kind of goes together. But the biggest difference I find between what we do and what many others maybe fail to do is just take the action. See, when we agreed to buy these 80 properties in Lanarkshire, we didn't have a fucking clue what we were doing. We had no idea how it was going to pan out. There was a lot of stress, a lot of aggro, a lot of weird shit. But ultimately, we just kind of rolled with the punches. We learned as we were going through it, and you know, and that's still not without its challenges, by the way. Didn't think that running 80 properties is a walk in the park. But that then led to the next thing, which led to the next thing, which led to the next thing, and it just goes back to the point, man. If people, like, the point of these podcasts is to, like, inspire and motivate and you know, encourage people, like, to take action.
Yeah, absolutely.
But you just need to take some form of action, man. You don't need to know how it's going to pan out, you know.
I think what's quite important there, and to be fair, we don't actually put any attention on it, but listening to Alex and Laurie saying that they just kind of rolled from the start and they went deal by deal. Alex just said that they had 40 units before they felt they actually took it to the next level and bought 82. Most people would only dream of owning 40 units.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they've just kind of just went through the motions and didn't really fully know what they were capable of and what they were doing. So if it's like, it can be that easy. You just need to get involved and start to learn as you progress, and things eventually happen. And we were actually out for dinner with one of our kind of main lenders on Monday night, and he made a comment saying that, you know, there's been guys like you who've done this before, but it never really worked. Tried to do something similar, but they never had it as fine tuned as you guys. And Laurie asked the question and said, well, what makes us different? And he made the comment about, because we have got these other businesses within the group and they all complement each other. And it's a system that we've created, which to these lenders who, I mean, the guy's been in the industry for, I think, 30 odd years, for him to make a comment on our structure and how we're doing things stands out to him.
Yeah.
That was a massive compliment to me and the group of what we've got. Somebody of that caliber and the experience is making a comment like that about us.
Definitely, no. Well, obviously you can tell, because obviously they also see lots of other developers as well. So that's testament to you guys. And you're right, Laurie, as well. What you're saying about, there's going to be people out there that are kind of maybe struggling to take action, don't know how to take action. But I think that's the beauty of kind of maybe where this training kind of comes in now, because then I'm sure you guys have made lots of mistakes over that period of time, and then now having you guys kind of help people going forward, with sort of mentorship and stuff like that. Hopefully people can make less mistakes and learn from your mistakes. So, how did the training come about then?
Well, you've only got to look at the guys that have come through training so far, right? And we push that on social media and stuff as well, so everybody can see that the big difference I find with what we do through training is with Connor's expertise. We are feeding the serious guys, the guys that go out and take action and secure the finance. We are feeding them opportunities, because whilst we are still buying single units, it's not our focus. We're focused on bigger deals, portfolios, and all of that. But for guys just getting started out, they're looking for that single deal, and then maybe they want. We say they should all go after like 10 units in the first year, and that's what we can help them do, right? And guys are flying, man. You should see them coming. But it's the ones that go and take action and apply the strategies that we teach. They're the ones that are growing their portfolios. Yeah. In terms of how we actually started REWD training, funnily enough, we were up there. Was it yesterday or the day before at one of the developments? Yeah. And we were in this room, and it was basically just me and Ek in this room at this building, because we had nowhere else to go type thing. It was during COVID, and we weren't even working together really at the time. Like, we'd started REWD, but he was in his house, I was in mine, and that was it. But we thought, hey, it'd be good to sit in a room together and just bounce ideas off each other a couple of days a week. And that building, in fact, is in the middle of kind of getting ripped apart. But still on that room was the two wee hooks of the vision board, that we got and started writing up on it. Like, so it was kind of like, oh fuck, we're probably going to lose our jobs next year, which we're now both full time in REWD, right? We both kind of got punted, and we were trying to come up with this plan to like not affect any of the other businesses, but have something that paid us income, right? Because we all need to live, we need an income, and that's why training kind of came about, because we felt like we had a bit of a story to tell, a bit of credibility, and we genuinely feel that we can help other people, But so basically, it was just the two of us sitting in this room. We took about half an hour out to talk through what it could look like, and it was just in that room. We came up with these different ideas, and again, we just started. What our initial idea of what training was going to be is nothing like what it's like now. Nothing like it. Absolutely nothing like it. But you just started. You made the moves.
When I joined, it was a case of I've always been against property training. Like, I was always against it because I didn't really see anybody who I felt was providing anything credible. And obviously, I'm 26 now, but I started in the industry when I was 18, and I learned knocking my pan in, grafting away for good companies and within good company, with the people I was working with, and I learned an awful lot. But I worked really hard for it constantly. And I felt like, giving all that away to people over the course of a couple of days who probably wouldn't actually appreciate the value they've just gained didn't really resonate with me. And I felt that these guys doing the training courses were making more money doing training than they were what they were teaching. And when I started, Laurie and Alex were like, listen, you don't have to get too involved in the training side, just do your bit, where you feel. And it ended up being, within the first month, it became my full focus, because I thought, here's an opportunity to work with two guys who genuinely know what they're doing, and I can put my bit in to actually provide value to people, rather than just churning out courses and, taking fees and just holding these mass events and people go on to do absolutely nothing. We can actually make something where we're giving them opportunities to create what it is that they want to build for themselves. And I think that's where we kind of stand out on that side, is that we're doing more for them than they are for us. Whereas I think a lot of the other companies out there, it's all about them, and they're just churning out the numbers.
Like, Ek touched on this earlier, right? And it's like saying something about like we never think we're doing enough. But see, even that comment, like, we know what we're doing. Fuck me. Every day I'm like, I don't have a fucking clue what I'm doing, but I just like keep making these moves, and we all work together and we all support each other. And that's what moves us forward. But people could look at us and think that, I don't know, we're kind of different or something, or we really do know what we're doing. Fuck that, man. That's no life. That's no business. You just need to make the moves. Yeah. Everybody experiences fear. Everybody experiences doubt. All these other emotions, and that's why we go on and on about this mindset stuff, because it's so important. The difference with us is the way we try to control our reaction to those emotions that we all experience. And whereas most folk would just allow their minds to take control and, answer that question for them rather than challenge it, I feel that's a big difference, because we do really kind of push ourselves in ways that a lot of other people would shy away from, I think,
Yeah. I think there's one other dynamic to it as well, is that, we're quite systemized and we understand what our focus is. And this is another thing about fear and people getting kind of, bogged down, is that it could be really easy, as a property investor, to focus on, I've got this refurb going on, the painters let me down, right? I'll get my overalls on, and and so many people do that. I was guilty of it myself at the start, as Laurie likes to remind me. So, it's easy to get bogged down in that stuff. But if you take yourself away from it and say, that's not my job. That's not. I'm a professional property investor. My job is to find money, find deals, put them together, and that's all I'm focusing on. Then this is where you get to with growth, because the risk is you get bogged down in doing the job that your letting agent should be doing, or even worse, you don't have one and you're doing that. That's a nightmare. And that's why so many people get tired landlords. They never make this next level, because they're not thinking like a property investor. They're not hitting those basic basic things that you need to do. Finance deals, that's your focus, and that's how to proceed, you know.
Yeah, nice. Okay, well, it sounds fantastic. Sounds really interesting as well. What's sort of the focus for you guys kind of going forward from here now? You know, you mentioned kind of build to rent, commercial to residential. You know, what's your main focus at the moment?
We had this chat the other day, and it was, you know, we've had to block out days in the calendar to review certain angles of the group and to discuss strategy. But I think, you know, the purpose of the group and the reason that, you know, that having the three of us is that we don't have to just focus on an individual thing. We have multiple things on the radar, and our attention is on them all. But, you know, we're looking at the new build market much more aggressively than we were, you know, so far. Conversions was the main thing we were focusing on because there was so many opportunities. Now the new build is on the radar for buy to sell and for buy to rent. So there's that thing, but there's so many more development angles on the training company that we want to progress. You know, different aspects, because the more we learn and the more experience we gain, the more we have to share, and then we can share that experience on all of these other things. At the moment, we're purely focused on buy to let because it's what we do. You know, it's what's got us to where we are, and that's why we provide all that information to others who want to focus on buy to let. But there's other angles that we'll develop into ourselves that we'll carry on to the training company.
I think the beautiful thing about buy to let is it's allowed us to do all this other stuff because, as I say, if you've got it systemized in the right way, it's quite passive. You know, I mean, our rent drops once a month now across the whole portfolio, so our gross rents are close to 100k now, and you know it's just hitting the bank account every month. Okay, we have a sit down with our letting agent, we've got dashboards, we've got KPIs, we go through where the issues are, but that's an hour meeting, and then he goes off and sorts it for us. We've got the building company that's dealing with the maintenance, but you know, because we've got that systemization, we can then focus on developments, we can focus on the training, we can focus on what's next for the building company, because you know, at the moment a lot of the businesses have been quite REWD group centric. You know, I mean, we're focused on the development projects in the building company. We want to branch out and do more external stuff next year. We've only done a couple of external projects, so we're definitely going to be growing that business as an individual entity. Training, similar thing, you know, launching the online training, and we're looking at other products. You know, we've learned a lot through our experience on commercial resi, so you know, I suspect we'll do something there. And you know, that's something that, you know, I've been asked about a few times on whether or not, you know, commercial resi is kind of easy when you're doing buy to let. You know, is it not the same thing? You're refurbing stuff, and it is a completely different animal. And,
yeah,
honestly, it's so complicated now. There's so many challenges, and you know, I think it's reasonable to say that the stuff we're doing at Falkirk High Street, you know, there's 5 projects, total of 43 flats, commercial, residential. It's about 5 million build and around about 9 million GDV now. It's seriously complicated stuff. It's a nightmare trying to get stuff through with building control. You know, the planning's been less of an issue because they need it, but you know, the challenges that business brings, and materials have gone up 50%, 100% in some instances. Building standard requirements for fire safety have added 50, 60k to most projects across the board. You know, it's a challenging time. It's a great opportunity, commercial resi, because there's so much retail, you know, shutting up shop.
Yeah,
there's a lot of these buildings available. It's a really attractive time to get into it, but you need to know what you're doing, or you could get in serious trouble.
I'm sure.
I mean, that's looking really good for us, but it's been 2 years lead time buying these buildings sitting empty, trying to get to the point of build now, and that kicks off in January now. That our first build on Temperance House, which was the one where Laurie and I started really REWD group in that little office. So, I mean, it's exciting, but you know, it's been a long road to get there.
Yeah,
but that's going to be a big focus for us next year.
I'm sure, and a lot of people won't see how long it takes for these kind of, you know, to kind of come from sort of fruition, you know, from where they started. So yeah, it's good to kind of that you're kind of honest on that, you know, and just kind of show how long it takes for these projects to kind of come together. You talk about the building company, and that's been a big struggle for a lot of people to kind of scale up. You know, you just mentioned even the guys at the commercial lenders, they were saying that, you know, you guys have done this differently. You've obviously sort of created all your businesses that have synergies to your main initial business as well. How did the building company come together? And did you have any experience in construction to start off with?
No.
No.
No, look, ultimately the building company was started because we had the problem of we had too many refurbs on the go, and that was about a year ago.
Yeah.
And that was at the time, we were still buying. I think we had I think we'd done the Lanarkshire deal, but we had another 10 or 15 single units going through, and we were with our team at the time. It was a couple of older guys that were more kind of handymen, and it was how are they going to be able to deal with all of this? And we sat down and tried to come up with a plan on it, but it was just fuck, there's too much going on here. So initially, we started the building company to kind of service our needs on the buy-to-let refurbishment side. But then there was also the bigger developments that obviously we wanted to control if we could. So we built up the team to a position now where we are able to have full control over that, and all the guys dedicated to these larger projects. As Ek was talking about now, we've got the external work and there's different angles on it. But ultimately, we just started it out of another problem. And no, we didn't have the construction experience. We don't come from that background. I was in business development and sales. Ek was accounting and project management and stuff. But the guy we're in business with in the building company, Richie Anderson, he's a fully qualified, skilled joiner and all that, and he's done new build developments, large scale luxury detached houses. He knows the score with that. He's run his own business in the past, managing teams of people, all the different trades and all of that. So we got into business with Richie, as I say, about a year ago. It was just him at the time. In fact, during that 12 months, I don't know if we really ever talked about this before or whatever, but there was all these incentives from the government to take on apprentices. And at the time, initially, I'm going back about 9 months ago, I think it was, you were getting $5,000 per apprentice that you took on. And we wanted to take apprentices on anyway, but we ended up getting some grant funding for that. Since then, I think we've taken on another 2 or 4 apprentices. I don't know. And project by project, it's become more apparent that we need, a more specialist trade here, somebody else here, we need another joiner and all of that. And like everything else, it's just we started it, didn't know how it was going to pan out, but we just kept moving forward, kept taking decisions, and then, we are where we are now. So.
Yeah, amazing. So, I mean, kind of leading on to sort of the training then, how do people sort of, how can they sort of interact with you guys on the training, and what sort of services do you guys offer?
Well, we've just launched the new training website, so it's rewdtraining.co.uk, and that's just purely focused, because that's the thing now, that REWD Group was just REWD Group, it was just the guys, and that's what it was. It was known as the investment company. It's what we were buying. But the group has a formal group structure now, so there's multiple businesses within that group, and every business has its own identity. It stands on its own. And for me, as a guy who comes in and purely is focused on how to generate income and new business, at one point, when I was working just as a valuer and I was finding deals and brokering, my attention was purely on doing the same job. It was all about bringing in new business, but it was one thing I had to do: contact people who had properties to sell and try and do a good deal. Now I've come into a position where I've got so many different businesses, so many different areas within those businesses to generate new business. It's just a dream come true for my kind of mindset. But the building company stands on its own. The training company stands on its own. But the training company, we recognised that we started out with the REWD Pro, which is our kind of advanced level education on the buy-to-let model and how to basically build a scalable buy-to-let business, focused on rapid growth, within a very short period of time. That was all we had to begin with the training company. We started to recognise that there was people out there who probably think that getting involved in property is just never going to be something that's available to them. And it's generally just because they have this perception that you have to be wealthy before you can even get started. And we wanted to break that barrier down, because even if it wasn't buy-to-let, there's so many ways that you can make money in property. So we started to do these one-day events held here in the HQ. We've got an event space that the building company have built up here. But what we found was that, our focus has to be the core business of investment and development. It has to be. If we're going to teach anybody how to do it, we have to make sure that we are constantly doing it ourselves. And what we struggle with is the time management at times, because we have a lot going on. So to try and put in a date in the calendar and a time that suits us three and then 20, 30 people that want to come along. It's quite difficult. I know you've run events yourself, Kessler. It can be difficult to try and get everybody that it works for. You'll get every excuse under the sun. People have lives. So we also then weren't been able to cover what we're capable of covering within like a 1 day. There was people who would start asking questions. Your time is taken up responding to these questions, and there's always different experiences in the room. So you get people who have already got a few properties, are quite experienced, maybe want to challenge a bit more, and you get people there who generally don't have a clue, and they're not getting the right time given to them to be able to learn what they've came there to learn on that day. So we basically created this model to provide it online and allow them to work at it like at their own pace from wherever the hell they want, and just go through it in detail, but allow us to be able to actually give an in-depth insight as to how becoming a property investor actually works, and really just give them the essential information and the kind of must-dos of property investing in the beginning, and that's why we have it's called REWD Essentials, and that's the online product that we really created the website for, because it's it's hosted on the website, but it's over 15 hours of detailed presentations that beginners can go and look at, and actually a couple of people that have already been buying and selling properties and getting involved in, I've had to speak to them on things because they phone me with major tax problems because they've not understood the implications, and straight away I've said to Alex, and Alex is like, tell him to watch Essentials, because he does it like it's nearly 2 hours long, this presentation on tax, and it's a thing that everybody hates, but it's essential. Like if you don't, this guy's basically going from making money to now being negative because he's not had his tax structure correct. But he'd done 6 or 7 deals in the last couple of years, and it's important that people have all of this information before they even get started. So we wanted to remove as many barriers as possible to let people get involved in property, and we felt the best way to do that was to create a product that allows them to go and work through it in their own time and be comfortable that they're learning without maybe having that anxiety of coming to a room where if they don't know what they're doing, there might be people in the room who are experienced. And a lot of people have told us in the past that they get a bit anxious because they think, well, I don't know what I'm talking about, and I'll feel a bit dumb, so they just won't come. They just won't go to these things because it's too scary for them. Eliminate that, learn in your own time, and then if you want to progress that and learn further, we're there for you. We're there to support as you continue to grow.
I think as well though, like the REWD Essentials course is fucking awesome, right? It's like more than 15 hours, as Connor was saying. That's like the kind of entry level paid for course. But this new website that we've put up, there's a lot of free stuff on there as well. Like so if anybody's like just thinking about getting started, go on and check out all the free stuff. You'll learn a lot just for the free stuff. And then okay, if you want to take it to the next level and start doing some paid stuff, then there's different options on there. But definitely, use and abuse all the free stuff. I remember when I was getting started, I would listen to a lot of podcasts and the YouTube stuff and all the rest of it. And it's like, just it's all free, man. Like take it all in. And then if you choose to advance, awesome. And you can reach out to us directly through the site if you want.
We've got a case study that basically just details exactly how we've grown from 0 to 200 properties. It's like a 45-minute case study, and it shows the type of deals we're doing, just explains, how we started, how I'm involved within the group, how we got to know each other and the part that we play. And it really just gives an in-depth overlook as to what REWD Group's all about. And it's just a taster, but it's very comprehensive in a 45-minute case study just to get all that information before we even decide to move forward.
I mean, in that thing that Connor's talking about, this 45-minute case study, it gives examples of some of the deals we've done. It talks through the numbers and stuff, and it's just class, man. So cool to look back and look at these things. But definitely, it should be very kind of motivational and inspirational and encouraging for anybody that goes and checks it out. So definitely, I would say to anybody listening, check that out and let us know what you think.
No, it sounds amazing. And I think your passion sort of shines through there from all three of you. Obviously you're really sort of passionate about property investment, and it's obviously changed your lives for the better as well. And I think your honesty sort of shines through as well. You're not trying to kind of show that sort of perfect picture here. As with everybody, even in my own business, we're all sort of underneath. We're kind of scrambling along, aren't we? Paddling underneath the water sort of thing. So, which is very true for all businesses.
Exactly.
So, guys, I mean, I hope people have taken inspiration from today. Listening to you guys and seeing what you can potentially achieve in such a short period of time. As with always, people will always be scared, like you said, Laurie, earlier on. Fear is always there. Fear is there even for me today. Coming onto this podcast, interviewing you three guys. We've all got fear in the back of mind. Are we good enough to do this job? That sort of thing. We need to push, and get to that sort of next step. But a lot of people are going to be worried about 2022. There's a lot of scaremongering just now as well. What are your guys' views, for the future in property investment, and how are you sort of structuring your business to kind of cope with sort of these kind of changing market? And obviously, you've grown so much through COVID at a time where many people have kind of sat on their hands as well.
Yeah, I think there's various different facets to our business which give us a nice balanced view of life as well. So we don't get too hung up on major market movements. The reality is, we've got some of the development stuff that we're going to sell to the market at the end. We continue to buy in a buy to let. So if market prices dip, it's going to be good for the buy to let, not so good for developments. And we have that sort of ongoing balance, and we'll duck and dive with our strategy as and when we kind of see fit, and that's the beauty of having a bigger thing. We're moving forward either way. I do expect the market to correct itself a little bit, but equally that has to be balanced out by the fact that material prices have gone up a crazy amount. So it's hard to see if the prices do start to dip how builders are going to continue to build, because something has to give in that dynamic. So it's going to be interesting to see how that works out. I think we are fortunate that we've done some really good deals on the development side. We've got stuff super cheap, so we've got options there even if the market does start to take a bit of a dip. And like I say, it'd be amazing for us on the buy-to-let side because there'd be a lot more deals around. So I don't like long-term plans. We were talking about that yesterday. We had a kind of strategy review for next year. We've got our immediate focuses going into the start of next year. We've got a few things we're launching on the training. We've got courses planned there. We've got the developments, three projects going into action at the start of the year. Building company, as I say, we're trying to get a bit more independence with that and focus that on external work, which it seems to be very strong and continues to be. And I think, if market prices dip, people will want to do a bit more work and stay put probably. So again, that could be good for us. It's well enough diversified to kind of keep us going, and we'll duck and dive as we normally do. We might have to set a few goals this year because Connor's insisting on it. But beyond that, we'll go with the flow, But it's worked well for us so far. So I'm not. I came from a corporate background where you had to do your 3-5 year strategic plan. It's bullshit because by the time you've written it, it's out of date. It's a waste of time. You just need to have a flexible organisation that can move and react quickly, and the less corporate bullshit you have in between that, the quicker you can move.
But I tell you what, man, there is no shortage of opportunities, right? I mean, so many folk think like, there's can't find any deals. It's like, just fucking put some effort in, you'll find them. Know where to look as well, but be educated and understand what you're doing. The amount of opportunities that come across our desk now, purely because of like our credibility, we're in the market, we're playing the game. It's insane, and we must. I don't know how many deals we've traded to our training clients, Connor. Maybe like 10 plus, something like that.
The numbers are there, but it's the ones that stand out to me are the ones that we got a couple of training clients who they're just the attitudes. They started to just take the beatings and they were getting worn down, and they're saying there's no deals, and eventually I just got pissed off, and I was like, I'm not having this. So I was like, look, I'll do this. There's no fees involved. I'll find you deals. And in 2 weeks, I found them 2 deals that they completed on. Now, they'd been banging on for 6 months saying that they couldn't find any deals. And in 2 weeks, I found them 2 solid buy-to-lets to add to their portfolio that will have all cash out in less than 18 months.
But this is the frustration that Laurie said at the start. We told them the actions they needed to take. And when you're sitting in that meeting saying, did you do this? Did you do that? Did you do it? Nope, hadn't done any of it. I'm looking on Rightmove. Well, of course there's no fucking deals.
Yeah.
I just think it's class, man. There's so many different perspectives about this thing we called reality, and it just purely depends on what you choose to believe. We believe there is this life of abundance, this infinite supply of opportunity, and look what's happening. If you think there's nothing out there, are you really going to take the actions to go out and try and find something? No. you know. And again, it's back to the thought process.
Yeah. I think for me, always the statement that always just like rings in my head that it came from Laurie. Actually, at one of the first events we did, and it was like, you either did the thing or you didn't. Like, there's no in between. You either did it or you didn't. And it's like, you want to come up with all these excuses. It's like, but did you do that? I did, but, and it's like, well, but did you do it to its full potential? Did you actually do that? No, never. Right. Well, that's, you're not going to get the benefit of that.
I was thinking about this the other day, and when folks say that they tried, you know, it's like, try is just a fucking word for an excuse as to why you didn't do something. Because if you'd done it, then you done it. You didn't try. If you just tried to do it, you didn't fucking do it, man. You know. Yeah. So, for me, number one for everybody that tunes into this type of show is like, just take some fucking action, man. Because if you don't take any action, you're not going to move forward. Simple as that.
Yeah, no, guys, I think that's really powerful. I think we'll end on that today. There's lots of questions here, but I think we can all go through our social media after, and we can answer all these up for everybody. Guys, it's been really inspirational speaking to all three of you, Alex, Laurie, and Connor. Really inspirational stuff for you guys, what you've kind of achieved, and I look forward to kind of seeing what you'll potentially achieve in the next couple of years as well. So, really big thanks for having you guys on today, and it's been really good. Thank you very much, guys.
Brilliant.
Cheers.